Today is July 30th, and the boys from the Backpocket are here for you guys. Declan Brown, Decky Workaholic, how are we?
We're phenomenal. We'll get to the workaholic story later. We got a phenomenal curbside story today. I will be telling it. I hope it's short, sweet, to the point. A strict line between A and B.
Intentional.
Intentional. It's going to be great. We also just got a phenomenal guest today. And I shouldn't be saying phenomenal. I should be saying excellent. I should be saying exuberant.
Mm-hmm.
I should be saying fantastic. Thank you, Andrew. Exemplary. We have an exemplary guest on today. Brennen Bliss, 19 years old, CEO of PixelCutLabs. We'll get to that later. But of course, Andrew, what do we got right now, man?
Our average quality. You guys know how we do it. We always start this podcast with an average quality because we're trying to grow. We're trying to recognize where we have been faulted and we need to improve. And my average quality this week, and kind of it has been a habitual movement that I just need to embrace more, is yoga. And that's my daily routine. Everyone has their meditation or their journaling, making their bed, as Beaver Fleming said last week. There's those things when you wake up that you need to get in your routine because it just creates productivity right away. And that is, for me, yoga. And I'm very average at it right now. I've been doing it for the past 5 weeks, and I've been consistently getting about 3 times a yoga sesh every week. And I want to boost those numbers because those are average numbers.
You're saying 3 times a week you're doing yoga?
Yep.
And you want to do it every day?
I want to do it every day.
Okay. And then how long are you doing it now for these 3 days?
Every day I do it, depending on how much time I have or give myself. I either do a 10-minute yoga session or I do a 30-minute yoga session in between those times.
Gotcha. And it's still pretty good, though, 3 days. Don't sell yourself short on that. But you could be better.
I'm looking for improvement.
I like where your head's at. My average quality this week, I'm always on my phone when someone's talking to me. And Matt Herron, God bless his soul, one of our roommates, called me out about it last night. And there's 2 things that go to that. First thing is I'm always like on Instagram or Twitter or something, or communicating with people, just always trying to push out content and always just trying to interact. However, when you're having a in-person interaction, I probably shouldn't do that. So I need to quit it, dude. I need to quit it. It's bad. It's bad disease.
Mm-hmm. Recognizing it's the first step, but actually putting your phone in your room and sitting down in the living room, whether you're just hanging out watching TV or you're working or something, it's difficult. I mean, Matt Herron, who's called you out on it, is trying to do it himself. He told me the other day that he's trying to put his phone in right when he gets home from work. He puts his phone in his room, and then he comes downstairs and he does the rest of his post-work routine of just sitting around and doing me time.
Yeah, and I kind of like that too because we're all home at the same time. We might as well at least spend some sort of time together, playing some PGA. Mm-hmm. I think we really need to start hitting some PGA 14 hard. I'm going to create my own player this time, and we're all going to just play around together at golf. Why not?
Embrace the camaraderie of the house.
I love it. So, again, average quality, always being on my phone when someone's talking to me. I know someone else out there has that problem and maybe even has that solution. So if you guys have any tips or tricks, let me know. Also, for any of the yoga people out there, don't ever hesitate.
Don't ever hesitate. But we're trying to truly embrace camaraderie, and Declan and I have a true bond on this podcast. But you know what? We never really take time to ask how we're doing. I mean, we do it before meeting Monday, but that's just once a week. So I'd like to ask you on this podcast, how are you doing today?
Dude, thanks for asking, man. I'm doing great. It was a crazy day. I'll say it right now. It was a nuts day. So I woke up at 4 a.m. because I had to get to, I work for PCL Construction, and we were pouring a concrete deck, and I had to, actually, this is turning into our curbside story, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is our curbside story for people that don't remember. It's just a
Decky Workaholic.
It's just a story.
Mm-hmm.
Decky Workaholic. There you go. So I woke up at 4, get to work by 5, pouring concrete, go throughout my whole day, and Matt Christensen, one of our roommates, this is a big roommate podcast. Matt Christensen sends us this screenshot of someone who had emailed us or something, and it said, "Hey."
Well, he's a part of this Facebook group, the neighborhood Facebook group.
Oh,
and they
of course he's a part of a Facebook group in our neighborhood.
Well, you got to be a part of it. Someone has to be in the house.
Yeah, someone does.
Thankful that he is a part of it because he saw a post that said a car was broken into on our block, and it said the time frame and all the noise and everything that happened, and you were putting the clues together and the dots, and what did you come up with?
Because in the message that he got was at 5 a.m. there was a reported robbery. I called the cops at 5:15. And I was getting out. I was leaving the house at 4:15 a.m. And I pulled, I was on our side of the street. on Colfax, like 2200s I can't say our address, but off Colfax. And
We'll cut that.
I drove away. We'll cut out our address, but then I see that someone robbed a car after I had left. I literally showed up, or I left and woke up before a robbery happened. Someone that woke up just as early as me or later to rob a car.
Mm-hmm. That's kind of nuts to think about. Usually you think that no one would be awake during that time because the robber was going to probably pick a time where no one's awake. Yet you leave earlier than the guy, and we think through putting the dots together that, or connecting the dots rather, that he pulled into the spot that you pulled out of because the car was in that region and broke in. And I don't know if he ended up taking the car or not. I think he did. But moral of the story is Deck is working his buns off.
Well, let's expand for a second real quick.
Okay.
I want to know if you were going to rob a car, which that's not a great way to make money is robbing cars. But if you were to rob a car, what time would you rob a car at?
Definitely in between the 3 a.m. to 4 a.m. window because that feels like people have been asleep and they're in their REM sleep. They're in the deep
definitely
sleep.
in their deep sleep at 3 a.m.
Yeah, that sleep when paralysis kicks in.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. That's a great point. And I was thinking like, man, well, what about those late night people that stay up till like 2? Because I was almost going to jump on and be like, oh, I'll just do it at 2, stay up late that night. But I feel like a lot of people are up at 2.
Some people are.
Yeah.
Some people are up at 3. So really, it's a difficult industry.
For some reason,
something I want to get a part of.
This guy was sleeping at 5 o'clock, really?
Yeah.
Breaking the car at 5 o'clock. I don't know. I just don't think, like, what a risky job. You have to break the window. You have to get in the car. Its siren, its horns are obviously going off. Then you got to hotwire it, and you drive away. I assume that's how it works, right?
Yeah, I don't know. But if I were to do it, that would probably be a proper way to go about it.
I'd set my alarm for like 3:30.
Yeah. This is all allegedly, guys. We're not planning any type of robbery here. So don't bring this to court and show us like, hey, these guys are a couple of gangbangers out here trying to steal cars.
A couple of gangbanging podcasters promoting that they're all positive, but look at this. And then we're on film trying to steal a car. That would never happen. No. So get it out of your minds.
I say we trap the puck early because we don't want to get ourselves in a hole that we shouldn't be able to get out of.
Yeah, exactly. But, what we do is we're workaholics. So we're just getting after it all day. And I think that was one thing that I had to take from my curbside story was I was like, dang, when we were going through it all, it was like 9 o'clock that night. I was awake for 18 hours and I was doing like so much that whole day. We got home I got home after work at like 5. We had 2 podcast interviews back to back. Hour with Brennen Bliss and then an hour with Duncan Dahl.
Our marketing intern spotlight this week on Thursday.
Yeah. So I just realized, like, man, I chose to spend 3 extra hours of my day grinding and doing a podcast and learning as much as I possibly can.
Mm-hmm. And that's an absolute movement that we need to promote on this podcast right now. Brennen Bliss kind of ignited it in us, and we kind of had an opportunity to reflect, and are we truly taking advantage of these opportunities? The willingness to learn is something that everyone needs to take advantage of because learning is an all-the-time thing, and there are many different varieties of way of going about it.
For sure. I totally agree. If you look at some of our past guests, well, first off, Brennen Bliss, I mean, a little bit of an intro to him. He's made 6 figures with his company. And
at the age of 19.
And he's 19 years old. The amount of times we say, you're 19, and then, like, go into the question, or, like, we mentioned that he's 19, it's like, okay. That's great. Like I think our marketing interns get it at this point. Like he's 19 years old. But anyways, it's a great accomplishment. I think his willingness to learn when he started at 14 to 5 years from now, 19, and now it's like part of his life, part of just learning about that specific brand, that company, that realm that it's in. It's phenomenal.
And a lot of our guests have a kind of like a mantra of learning. I mean, that's one of the cool things about sitting on this podcast and hearing these stories of how someone has failed and grown through that failure. They tell us their average qualities, and then they show us how they're not average. And I mean, a good example would be Johnny Stafko, a fitness guru in Australia. And he was a person who kind of inspired us to kind of reflect on how we handle our partnership and how he learns on a day-to-day basis in the moment of just trying to handle it through conversations, listening to various podcasts, just being intellectually curious.
Yeah, and I totally echo that, and I think we really took that. We learned that from Johnny, and then we applied it to our life. Then you look at another guy, Rick Martinez. What was one thing that he said that was super, that I took away, that we took away, was success leaves clues. So it's like, okay, we take that, then we look back into Rick, right? And we see, okay, why is he successful? Well, he told us. He gave us his story. He gave us his background and how everything. Then you go and apply that to all the other guests that we have, or for that matter, anyone you meet. Why is Brennen Bliss so successful at 19? Well, he's freaking committed, that's for sure. And, he's got a lot of other stuff going on. But that's something that we started to look into.
And then, you look it into your own day-to-day routine. And we just talked about how you had an 18-hour day. That's successful. So you go back and you reflect on that 18-hour day. How was I able to achieve this in a way that made it successful? And then you find those attributes, you find that methodology, and you continue to put that in your next day. Another guest that we thought had some really cool insight on how she goes about learning, and Giselle Ugarte. I mean, putting herself in uncomfortable situations and feeling comfortable is a unique quality to uphold and to promote, because not a lot of people put themselves in a situation where they're nervous, because nerves are scary. And again, fear plays a factor into that. But she is like, okay, if I am going to be uncomfortable, that's okay. I got to be able to find my comfortability in this situation. And then she has a more self-awareness going through that situation. It's really cool. And I really appreciate all these different guests and how they've described their willingness to learn.
Yeah, but I think, maybe some people are thinking like, oh, well, we didn't have those guests on our podcast, or I don't have these types of interactions on a day-to-day basis, which is fine. Like, that's not a big deal, because where you actually learn, where your willingness to learn shows up is in conversation and just being intellectually curious. And when you peel back the onion of the back pocket, or when you start to pull all the things out of your back pocket, you realize those are really the two things that what it boils down to, is having a conversation, or talking story, as we like to say, and just always being intellectually curious.
Being open to their perspective. It's difficult at times to just hear someone out, to sit back and not think about your own thoughts while someone's speaking. I'm not by any means perfectionist at this. This is something that I could attribute to my average quality.
I literally just said I was on my phone when someone was talking to me. Like, that's the opposite of listening. That's doing something, that's ignoring.
Yep.
It's not good.
And just being aware of it and trying to take advantage of these situations, you can grow. And that's kind of what we want to hit home with this little segment that we have. And Brennen Bliss did a great job of how he does it. He's going to college at 19 years old as a millionaire. And
at 19, though. At 19 years old.
What'd I say?
You said 19. Yeah. I've just overemphasized that we always say at 19 years old.
Continuing to harp the point that he's 19. We're 22, and
he's not 18.
No.
He's 19.
He's 19. Oh, man.
And he's definitely not 20 or 21, but he is 19.
He's 19. He's going to college. So,
and he's going to college. He's going to be a freshman. He's 19. But it's a phenomenal podcast. You guys will love it.
Today's guest is Brennen Bliss. At 14 years old, he made his first $600 on a website. And then at 17 years old, he made six figures for the first time. Now at 19 years old, he's here on the Backpocket podcast. So, Brennen, thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. First question that we always ask all of our guests: what is your average quality? We like to frame it in a sense that Andrew and I, we're good at some things. We're also really bad at some things. At the end of the day, it makes us average. Brennen, what is your average quality?
Oh, goodness. Human communication. Anytime this is practice for me. Anytime someone tries to speak to me, I just make a weird noise and shy away. No, I'm kidding. I think that growing up, it's always been, I've never been able to communicate with people my age. And I don't know what to attribute that to, but that's got to be my average, if not definitely far below average quality.
Well, we're looking forward to hearing how you grew from that, because you're already at 19 years old, extremely successful. And if your average quality is human interaction, and that sure hasn't hindered the step to getting there. So as I introed you a little bit, I said you had a $600 year at 15 years old, and then you made $1 million at 17 years old. I know our marketing interns are dying to learn how this came about. So can you give us a timeline on this whole process?
Yeah, so the way it worked was I started with, when I was 14, and I've always been I've never settled for just being, just sitting there and letting things happen, which is a lot of what childhood is for a lot of people. I was, by 8 years old, a national champion in gymnastics. I stopped doing that at 9, and by 13 years old, I had a movie at South by Southwest that won awards for some awards related to best short film. And then I started making apps. I started dragging and dropping apps in a really makeshift cowboy coding style way. Nothing I would ever show anybody. But I did the app development, a couple of apps, and then my mom was like, we need a website for my company. Can I like pay you, what was it? It must have been like 50, 60, something like that. Just a couple dollars to do this. She'll probably say it was more. We have a disagreement on that, just because I like to complain about things. But she gave me that opportunity, and I spent a whole summer building a website for her in her small medical practice. And then she told her friends, and her friends asked me if I could do their websites. And I said, yes, let's put another 0 on the end of it and do it. Which, by the way, is only like $100 because I was starting pretty low. But that trend continued when I had another opportunity, added some more to it, and then I got a $10,000 opportunity with a close family friend, and realized, okay, I can hire someone to do this for $5,000. So I went onto this website called Upwork and paid someone overseas to help me with the website. Later, my account got banned because I was too young to use Upwork, but that's a different story. But I did that, and while that website was being built, I learned how to do something called search engine optimization. Because I was like, there are all these other agencies, and they're doing paid advertising. How do I get to the top? Because I don't have money. So search engine optimization is the only answer. You get to the top of Google by doing organic content, by pushing out content. And I had a lot of time on my hands as a 15, 16-year-old in the summer. So I got ranked for #1 when you search web design company in Dallas, which is a big deal. I know that more now than I did at the time, because now like I can do anything in the world and I can't rank for that keyword. It's like it was so easy that summer, but now I can't. But once that happened, people were reaching out as if it were a real established business. I say that as if it weren't, because it definitely wasn't. It was a grind to get my dad to open up the LLC, but I was able to get clients, and it just a lot of trial and error, a lot of mistakes and overcorrection that continues today, and it hurts all the time, but the benefit is it far outweighs all the drawbacks. So that's kind of how the natural progression happened. Now I've got one full-time team member. I've got 2 part-time team members. I've got about 15 to 30 contractors working for us at any given time. And we're a pretty lean company, and we're growing pretty fast. So it's been a fun ride, and it's just the beginning.
So you're currently at PixelCutLabs, at your CEO of PixelCutLabs, and is that what your dad helped you LLC to start, or is that something completely different?
It was PixelCutLabs, hence the horrible, meaningless name. Yeah, so the way that ended up working was I pushed my dad for like years. I was like, I want a business name that's legal, or actually much higher version of that voice at the time, because 13, 14. And yeah, PixelCutLabs LLC was established in 2014. I think I still owe my dad $300 for that. I think he still wants me to pay him back for that.
That's awesome. So what's like the general scope of the company? So I know you mentioned like we kind of understand what pixels are, but in terms of like marketing and everything and the nitty gritty of what PixelCutLabs, what would you say that represents?
We don't do anything with pixels. That was it haunts me every day, but that was like the only name I could think of at, again, 14 years old. And it's stuck. We have brand recognition, so I've kept it. But we do search engine optimization primarily, which is, as I mentioned, doing a lot of things to try to trick Google's algorithm into giving you preferential placement when people are searching for a service. It's the first place most people go when they're looking for something, and getting to the top for a keyword like Dallas SEO, which is a very hard target keyword because you're competing against another couple hundred agencies doing the same exact thing as you. We're, I think, ranked number 4 for that right now. But getting ranked for that keyword means 800 searches a month. If you're ranked number 1 for it, you're getting about 400 high intent visitors ready to buy something that costs $10,000, $20,000 a month. So search engine optimization, very valuable. And then web design is where you'll land. So we build the websites too. Those are the 2 things we do. And then social media is kind of a dancing service on the side. Doesn't really have it. I feel like I need to sell social medias because I can say, who better to hire than a child to do your social media? But I really enjoy mostly the search engine optimization. I feel like I've learned so much about that and gotten to the point where I can confidently say that you buy this from us, we'll make you way more money than you're paying us.
Okay. So, for example, you search the Backpocket, and obviously you want our podcast to come up first because we're the most relevant thing with the word Backpocket in it. How would you take our average podcast and our average SEO that goes along with it and then grow us to be number 1 on that search?
Awesome. So there's a couple things you'll do. Number 1, you want a great place to land. So you'll go to your website and you'll publish really high quality content, because Google's going to look at that content and say, if this is providing value to people who are not already knowledgeable of this brand, say you write a post on how to produce an awesome podcast. If that provides value to people, which it will, if you write it and really spend a lot of time. I mean, I'm talking you spend 20 hours writing that post, not 2. That post is a great asset that we can start pointing traffic to. So we'll submit that URL to Google and we'll start generating something called backlinks. And what backlinks do is essentially passes the authority of other domain names onto your website by kind of endorsing your website. When you see a link coming from, when you're reading a blog post and you see a blue highlighted section that really doesn't make necessarily 100% sense why it's there, probably someone paid for it to get it placed there. But backlink generation is the second step of the process. After you have content, you'll be just building that authority. And then number 3, you can use social media to kind of boost that up and do organic outreach to bloggers, try to get them to point back to you. So it's really a 2-phase process. 1, create; 2, generate authority.
Very cool. So how would you recommend reaching out to the organic way? Like, that is probably one of the methods that people don't utilize as well, because you're on social media, you either can DM them, you can comment on pictures that are relevant to what your message is trying to put across. Is there a more efficient way? Is there a more authentic way to go about it?
Well, there's definitely ways to not go about it. Let's start with Dear Sir/Madam. Google is sending an email that looks like it's coming from someone who's using English as their 3rd or 4th language. That's kind of, it's, so if it's been processed by Google Translate, essentially is what I mean to say by that. So personalize things. I would never, because we have a website with high domain authority, PixelCutLabs. It has quality link juice, which is, the industry term for domain authority. And we get outreach all the time asking for links. And some of them look like they're literally just a list of 1,000 people or 10,000 people that they import and click send. One time, there was a scenario where they clicked CC instead of BCC. And there was this absurdly hilarious chat of a bunch of different SEO agency owners just talking about how hilarious that outreach was. Because what it was is it was someone using a list of SEO agency owners and trying to get them all individually to publish a backlink on their website. So it was just this like 400 person list email string. And then we created a LinkedIn group. It was a blast. It's still like going on. That was a year ago. There are a lot of mistakes you can make, but when you really want to try to get links, I know I listened to Jason Pfeiffer. I think that's his name. Yeah, he's the editor-in-chief of Entrepreneur. I spoke with him and went to one of his talks one time, and he said, when you're trying to approach someone to get them to publish about you or link back to you, especially when it's an editor for a magazine, something print, any press, even online, what you'll be looking at doing is trying to catch them when they're looking for that information. You don't want to like someone's creating a video game. You don't want to reach out to someone who just published a video game article and say, I saw you just published a video game article. Will you write about my video game? No, they're done with that topic. You want to, there's no set way to do it. You just have to really build relationships. Because if you're able to catch someone's eye, by maybe following them on Twitter and interacting with their personal posts. And then you send an email to their business inbox 2 months later, you'll have that name recognition, and that'll at least get them to look at the email. So it's really kind of building those relationships and not making it impersonal.
Gotcha. So almost asking or giving something to them without expecting anything in return, but just kind of that long-term understanding of like, okay, I just need to start this relationship and know maybe 2-3 months down the road that this could be a possibility.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I have an agency, marketing agency coach who's helping me grow my agency. It's a great thing. I'd recommend getting a coach whenever you come across the opportunity. But one of the things he's taught me is that someone sees your name 1 or 2 times, they have no idea who you are. They see it 3 or 4 or 5 times, they would recognize and click on something. They see it 7 to 9 times, they'll buy it from you if they're in the mindset to buy something from you. And if it's more than 10 times that they recognize your name and it's not spam, then they'll start recommending people to you, even if they've never used you before, just because you've sent them 10 emails over the course of a year and they recognize your name. So there's a lot of power in name recognition, especially if you can twist it into a way that the person doesn't realize how they found out about you.
Gotcha. That's impressive.
Mm-hmm. Well, I want to touch on how you're a CEO right now. So we are 22 years old, you're 19. You got 3 years to come to get where we are, and we still don't even really know what it feels like we are the co-founders, co-CEOs of what we are doing right now. How is it in your position being 19 years old and running a company? Are there power differences that you have to handle? What are kind of the day-to-day routines that you kind of display your CEO qualities?
There are a lot of things that I don't recommend. I'm still learning. I really am. I have business-wise, I'm good at communicating. Not as much on a personal level, but when it comes to business, I am. And I sometimes factor in the personal side of things far too much when I'm working with my team members. But the main thing in leading at this age is that there's no reason and no justification for blocking out other people's ideas. My parents tried to give me advice. They both my dad, he's been doing his own thing his entire life, and my mom she started a speech pathology clinic 20 years ago, probably before I was born. And she's been doing that her whole life. She has experience with employees, and I was not listening to her at all because I was all, my way is the right way, even though I have no idea what I'm doing. But it bit me really hard. A couple things happened and I didn't know what to do. I got myself in some binds, and the things she recommended would have avoided those. And thank you, Mom. I love you.
Well, I mean, we all kind of go through this as sons, and we understand that our mom is always right. So that's kind of tough. That's a tough pill to swallow. But hey, at least you're 19 and already knowing that. So
Yeah.
Those kind of experiences that you had will obviously build you for the future.
Mhm.
One of my other questions that I wanted to touch on just real quick is you're 19, so you're going into your freshman year of college. You are going to college. We do our research. Where are you going to college?
I'm going to UT Austin. I'll be studying business down there.
Oh, yeah. Nice.
So you'll be starting this upcoming fall.
Yes.
And would you like some advice? We just graduated.
Please.
So would you like some
Please,
advice?
I want to hear your advice. I do, because honestly, I have no idea what to expect, and please.
Okay, good. Start us off.
Okay, first thing, you need to know that Vince Young is a Heisman Trophy winner. Reggie Bush got his Heisman Trophy revoked, which then made Vince Young the Heisman Trophy winner. Definitely flaunt that take around UT Austin. People will love it. My second thing would be just make it through your first semester. It's the hardest one. It sucks at times. It's great at times. You learn a million new things. So many things get thrown in your face, but just get through it.
Where I would say you need to just hit home, and this is kind of where I learned from my older brother who didn't follow this advice, was go to class. It's not that hard, just whether you're not in the mood or you're really energetic. It doesn't matter where you fall on that scale. Go to class and just sit through it, because you never know what's going to happen. You might learn something. I guarantee you'll learn something. You might retain it. That's the real goal.
Oh, yeah. See, why don't my brothers do these things? I have 2 older brothers. Neither of them have told me any of this stuff.
What did they tell you so we don't double down on advice?
Good luck.
Okay. Wait, how many people go? Like, what's the class size?
Well, so my high school graduating class was 30, and UT, I think there's 50,000 people on that campus. So
Okay.
it'll be a little bit of a culture shock.
Yeah. We went to St. Thomas is like average class size is like maybe 30, or less. So for big schools, we don't have the best advice, but I would say, start a relationship with your professor if you can. Sometimes that's not realistic, especially in your first couple of years or your first couple semesters. But having a relationship to begin with the professor goes so far with grades, with understanding what the hell is going on in your class, and all that kind of stuff. Like, just have a relationship with your professor if you can possibly do it.
For sure.
One recommendation on a class to take is, we both took it. I took it first. He took it after me. Was literary villains and bad guys. Okay.
Oh, I gotta write this down.
Literary villains and bad guys is a course where we read, I think, 8 books in the 1 semester period, and you wrote a book about. You got to pick 2 books. You saw 4 books, and you had to write a paper on them. And they were books like Gone Girl, We Need to Talk About Kevin, No Country for Old Men. Books, though, that were just so mind-boggling, twist-oriented that you grew from these fiction that you didn't realize that you enjoyed reading, and that when you were 10, you love fiction. And now you're 22 years old, only reading textbooks written by professors who graduated 60 years ago. It's like, no, there's actually a lot you can gain from just reading a simple novel that is not so simple, actually.
Yeah, novels are they are life-altering. There have been 2 that particularly have influenced me. Actually, one really, My Antonia. It's a classic, and there are so many themes in there. And I think it was without a doubt the teacher that was leading that class. But the implications of something like that in life, you don't realize how much it influences you unless you really think about it, because there are, just themes, appreciation of nature, human interaction, that you don't think about, but you take them with you.
For sure. Mm-hmm. My final piece of advice, Andrew might have something, but my final piece would be humility. So when someone looks at your Twitter profile and they see CEO of this company, he's making millions of dollars, most kids are going to be like, why is he even in school? This kid can pretty much do whatever he wants. I would approach everything that you do just as if you're one of us, just like a random Joe Schmo, like no one, you know what I'm saying? Like, just approach everything, and you've probably done this in your life already, but just approach everything with 1,000,000% humility. And if someone finds out that you're a CEO of PixelCutLabs, then that's what happens. If they don't, you know what? They have value for who you are, put it that way.
Yeah. No, it's that's always like it's become my identity. But sometimes I'm able to weed that out, and on a 3rd date or something like that, someone will be like, so I looked your name up, and I was like, oh, darn it. Now they're going to expect me to pay for stuff for dinner. No, which I don't do. I will take free dinner anytime, especially with Chipotle. My best friend and I went to Chipotle last night, and we went indoor surfing, and it was like I had to pay $20 for him because he left his wallet at home. And yeah, he owes me Chipotle on several occasions. So we redeemed one of those last night. But I guess that distraction comes back to what I was saying about that's a really difficult thing for me, because this is all I've done for the past 4 or 5 years. It's been me. It's been my identity. And without it, and if I were to talk about some of the failures, some of the losses that I've had, the idea of losing what I have here as part of my identity, not as part of my identity, but losing it tangibly would plunge me into depression. because I've gotten close to that before. I've gotten close to losing it several times. So it's definitely disconnecting from that, even though it's still there. The idea in my mind is that I have to, in my heart, realize that I still have something that is that I've built from the ground up, but not make that be the centerpiece of any conversation. So that's probably the best advice anybody could give.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate
I think
it.
you already have that self-awareness. I mean, no one, there's not many people out there that are able to relate to what you've been through. I mean, there are people that have done it, but it's far and few in between. I mean, 19 years old and going to college still, even after making this type of money, I applaud you for that, because that in itself is awesome. Because a lot of people would just be like, well, I've already gotten to a point where I don't feel like university is necessary. However, it's not really going to be what you learn. It will be at times what you learn in the classes, but a lot of it will be friends that you build, just hanging out with things in an atmosphere that is never really rebuilt again. University lifestyle is never rebuilt again, in whether you're living in a house or an apartment or in the dorm living. All of that type of stuff in college is really unique. And I know Declan and I, we had a hell of a time. We started the podcast to kind of share our experiences in college. And then it turned into this, asking people that we didn't really have a platform to talk to until the podcast. And hearing your story already, 19 years old and being willing to come and making this type of money, coming onto our show, thank you. So it's only been 30 minutes. I mean, I already feel inspired by it, so thank you.
You asked, and for a lot of reasons, I said, how could I not do something like this? Because I sit in this shell. If you were to see my office that I'm sitting in right now, you'd realize it's kind of like a dungeon. It's if you turn the lights off, it looks like a cave because it's exposed brick wall. But I live in a small bubble because I'm either at my office or sleeping. Right now, I'm going on a date after this, so there's that. I haven't done that in forever. First date, that should be fun. And no, but the idea of being able to interact with other people and talk to other people, that's always something that I have to grab. And I really do appreciate you asking me.
Well, I got one advice for the first date. So I just went on, or not just went on, but I went on a first date, a first blind date about 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago. And I wasn't able to know who her name was, so I couldn't look her up on social media. So I sat in the restaurant and I waited for her. I told her I was going to be at this place at this time, and I'll be sitting in relatively this area. You'll know who I am when you walk in. Well, it didn't really go. She came in and we had dinner, and I knew who she was. I got to know her a lot. It didn't really go as planned. She wasn't someone I wanted to go on a date after that. But going on that first date, learning about someone without having any prior interaction with her on social media was one of the coolest things I've ever done. So if you haven't yet, don't look her up and just take the first impressions of the conversation without all of the Instagram, Twitter, and all the Facebook type of preconceived notions that they imply.
Absolutely. Fortunately, I never grant myself enough time to go online. I don't use social media as much as I should to try to communicate with people. I am. Maybe it's a different thing. Maybe it's a different complex that makes that happen. But no, I'm going into this without a lot of them. I know EMT, which is kind of cool. CareFlight EMT. That's cool.
What the hell is that?
EMT meaning like the
emergency
yep.
medical technician.
So
like
a pilot or like on a plane?
No, it's a paramedic.
Paramedic. Okay.
Yeah.
Now I get it.
Yeah.
Okay. On to my next question here. Leadership. So how do you have people in your company that are older than you?
Everybody.
Everybody's older than you. Okay.
Yeah. No,
how do you go about
everybody.
leading? Okay. How do you go about leading people that are older than you?
So there's no really problem. There's not a problem with people taking me seriously because it's like a long running joke that I have experienced less years on this earth than they have, but it really doesn't come into despite what you might think, because I get this question relatively often. It's not a dynamic, really. It's not part of anything. It's a matter of you're taking care of someone and you're attending to their needs and dreams. And that's really what I think about a team member as, is my goal is to make sure that I'm contributing to their future. And I think when there's that understanding, nothing else matters. I mean, the paycheck should probably come when you tell them it's going to come, but payroll also is the scariest thing in the world, and I hate it. But that's a different conversation.
Kind of like a side question off that one. How do you leverage your youth as a leader and a CEO? Is that like you feel like you have more blah because of being younger, newer perspective, any sort type of atmosphere with that type of youth?
So there's a couple things. One, I don't come in with any preconceived ideas. I don't know how to make an Excel spreadsheet with complex formulas. I know how to make it by clicking equals this cell, which does effectively the same exact thing with 10 times less effort. And that's how I do everything. I'm not coming into this with the right conventional air quotes way to do this. But it's it takes a lot of burden off of you. I'm going to school. I'm going to be going to school for 4 years, so I'll be able to see when I'm learning business management, what I'm either doing differently or many things I expect that I have been doing wrong, in the sense that even the conventional way is 10 times better than what I'm doing, because again, I use the term cowboy coding because that describes what I do. Everything I do is trying to put out fires. It's been less of that recently. We've put systems into place, but I don't have that conventional knowledge coming into this. And then also, it's a talking point, and it helps me build. If I were this age and it didn't matter, it would mean that I don't have a pre-existing network from school. It would mean I don't have a pre-existing network from previous jobs, and that would make it really hard to sell. And that does make it really hard to sell because I don't know people. I don't have a big contacts list. But when you bring in the idea that it is a talking point that I am 19, that does make it a little easier to attract people that might be really interested in hiring someone to consult for them that is in that generation. So it kind of balances out. It cancels each other out. So I use that age thing to my advantage in the sense that it makes up for my lack of a network.
Yeah, and what's great about your situation now is you're going to college, which is the best way to expand your network and probably the fastest and most efficient way. So again, back to the advice, relentlessly expand your network because it'll come. It's easy.
I'll bring my Rolodex.
There you go.
And plenty of business cards.
Plenty of business cards.
I went 4 months without business cards because I was like, it doesn't matter. And then I realized that I got them, and I made my sales went up like 8 times. They're very effective. I don't know if it's like just an odd correlation or if there was actually a connection, but I think they're pretty important. So I'll definitely be handing them out in lectures.
There you go. We didn't even get analytics until like a year in.
Yeah, originally it was a hobby, and then we were like, well, we're graduating. Are we going to turn this into something? And then we were like, let's send it. Let's get analytics, and let's turn this into what we want it to be.
Yeah, let's see what happens.
But one of our favorite things to do with business cards is leave them in funny places, and then people will see them. Hopefully, like when we're out on a Friday night, we'll leave them in the bathroom, and hopefully, like right above where you wash your hands or something like that.
Oh, that would make me wildly uncomfortable. I was like, someone's trying to sell to me while I'm peeing.
Yeah.
Lovely.
And marketing's and all the time.
I hope that turns into a soundbite of sorts. I just realized that all of this is being recorded. I totally forgot for a little while. But cool. This is how I talk when I'm just like spiraling out of control.
No, very casual. That's what we are. It's a conversation on interview. And what we just mentioned was marketing is an all the time thing. Marketing to the new generation. I would love some advice on that end because you are full blown in this industry. Any tips to our marketing interns right now on how to market to this new generation?
So we'll go through the things that everybody knows already and can obviously gather from this conversation based on the way I've conducted myself. People in my generation have very short attention spans, very short, but that's there's not any actionable work that you can do to appeal to that other than what most people already know. I mean, shorter videos, more immersive content. But when we look at, I guess, the interesting thing about this generation is that we're using them as a market, and that didn't happen in the past. People under 18 have never really been a market. Their parents have been, but they haven't. 25, I'm talking 15 to 25 as the target audience. Gen Z, I'm looking at right now, it's technically like 5 to 25, but it's kind of hard to sell to 5-year-olds. Not impossible, but difficult. So when you look at that, you realize, okay, it's a moving target because we have a group of people that are developing rapidly compared to baby boomers, compared to Gen Y, compared to millennials, in the sense that they're not stagnant in an age. These years are the most highly developmental years of a human life, or so people have told me. I don't believe them. I feel like I know everything already. That was, for the people who can't see my face, that was sarcasm. For the people who can see my face, it might not have been obvious because I have a resting, well, yeah, like just like a face you can't tell is being sarcastic. But because it's usually like that, usually being sarcastic. But back to, let's see, we were talking about Gen Z. See, I got distracted. You need to keep in mind the attention span thing. When you look at someone who's turning 15 and use that as a benchmark, and then you try to market to them when they're 17, you're going to fail miserably every single time. Interests have changed. Life outlook has changed. Impressionability has changed. The only thing that's consistent among all of that group is that these are people who want to make decisions on their own, and we need to make them feel like they're making decisions on their own without quote unquote manipulating. That's not what I'm suggesting here. I'm suggesting the opportunity to give multiple decisions that all have the same end result for the business owner, as in surveys that get prizes for, I mean, this is just me making things up off the top of my head, based on specific answers, but making all of the answers get the prize that people need. It's a feeling of self-direction because we're being told that we're influenced by people all the time. We're being influenced by social media, being influenced by mainstream media. That's kind of like the general consensus. So everybody's trying to push themselves away from that. And then lastly, the disconnect from parents. You want to be able to make decisions that are going to disconnect you temporarily from your environment when you were raised. Every single teenager, most teenagers will have that experience. Well, they will take a drastic disconnect from their family for a very short period of time. And in that period of time, they're either going to do things that are not productive or that do better for them. So not manipulating is a very important element, because if you manipulate someone in that period when they're hypersensitive and they notice that when they're not in that, when they look back and say, wow, look how susceptible, and this is more of a subconscious thing, but look how susceptible I was to this campaign for this reason. I hate that company now. You don't want, because it's easy to realize when a company is manipulating you based on your age. Because you grow up, you grow out of that age. So you look back and say, wow, that's how I responded to this brand. Rappers come to mind, different types of things come to mind. Just, you don't want to get a short-term result with this audience because it will turn into a long-term dissatisfied relationship.
Okay. So when you say, I feel like when you say manipulate and influence and like what's going on in social media and those, it's a very fine line. I feel like that, how do you play with the manipulating line? Because you can really push your content. So like if you're trying to get a kid to buy a shirt, like you can almost market it in a way to manipulate them to buy that shirt. But
you can market it in a way to manipulate them to go steal their parents' credit card and buy the shirt with it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So where's the fine line that you kind of play with when you talk about not manipulating versus influencing?
Organic content is always the way to go. My company only does organic content. We don't do any paid advertising anymore because that's where the manipulation typically happens. Paid advertising means you are aggressively targeting someone because they fall into a large demographic, a massive audience. You don't know anything about each person. You don't know what mindset they're in, and you don't know what they're looking for. Organic content means that they will only come across you when they're looking for what you have to offer, which means you're only providing value. So we create organic content because it treats the world better.
Very cool. And was there kind of like a aha moment that led you to this? Was there a failure that you were like, wow, we are right now hitting the mass market and I do not feel genuine anymore. Now I want to do organically. Did that happen, or was that kind of just like a long process of, hey, we're not doing
It's a
it
long
well?
process. A lot of difficulty has come in the business of trying to be a full service agency, doing everything, and that served nobody because we weren't able to do anything right. Everything was done at like 50%, and nobody wanted to work with us because they wanted to work with a specialized agency on something. So we specialized in search engine optimization because honestly, search engine optimization, while there is anybody on any block that can do it for you, we are very serious about the way that we conduct a campaign. We have a very intricate plan. I just spent, oh goodness, I closed a $200,000 deal on Thursday last week. I spent 20 hours writing the proposal for it. And the proposal outlines our entire strategy without me even knowing if I was going to get the client. It's not smoke and mirrors. People see SEO as smoke and mirrors, but it's not. And that's the reason I chose SEO as the service that we're going to offer as an organic content service, because it really does provide value for a business and you're doing it without hurting anybody. So I think, and back to the question of how did I get to this? It was a matter of nobody wanted to buy from us when we were doing everything. We couldn't deliver or keep clients when we were doing everything. But it gave us the opportunity to find services that we liked delivering, and we chose the ones that stuck.
So it's fair to say that you wouldn't be able to be where you are today without appealing to the mass and then be like, wow, this is not us. And then these are what is us. And you found it through that.
Exactly. So
awesome.
It gave me the opportunity to figure out what type of work I did. Now I'm working on figuring out what type of client I like working with so I can specifically go for those in the future. And it's kind of like I need a specific, I need volume to be able to figure that out. I need to test the waters. That's, again, a metaphor for how someone grows up and disconnects from their family and comes back. It's something that just coming of age, a business comes of age just like a person does. There's a lot. It's really like exciting in the beginning, and then you have your terrible twos, and then you get sued all over the place, and then you get $1,500 in overdraft fees in one night. Sorry, this is everybody, right? No, I just got sued for the first time. Not fun. Baseless claim, not someone with any standing. Kind of crazy stuff. But lawsuits are scary because people can come at you for everything that you have. And I forgot that it's not my fault if something is said about you that you didn't do or say. You just become a target with more of a presence the longer you've been around. And I've recently been struggling with that because someone made a claim against me and I immediately snapped and said, yes, it's my fault. I'm so sorry. But then I look back at everything and realized I just agreed to pay out something that I didn't even do wrong. So I almost was on a payment plan and they didn't agree to it. They asked for more. And I was able to have the opportunity thanks to that because they didn't agree to my accepting their initial offer. I was able to get out of that and realize that I've been paying for an insurance policy this whole time. Why don't I just use this? Because I thought I was going to be responsible for legal fees and everything. It's really hard to, you just feel so lonely. You feel like you're the only one that's going through this. And then I call the insurance company and they're like, oh, we deal with this all the time. I call my corporate lawyer who's not at the insurance company. He says, yeah, they're just making a false claim. And they say, like, no big deal. But when you're an anxious anybody and the thing that you've spent your entire life building gets threatened, it's kind of scary. There's been a lot of pain. Today, I just sit here in my office with anxiety at some points, thinking, there's something I'm missing. There's something not going right. I get messages from my team. I get messages from clients. I get all this hitting me sudden on every single way. And it's like, it's a lot to take on for anybody. So.
One thing that you kind of touched on was, oh, are we echoing now?
Oh, sorry.
No, you're good. One thing you touched on was like that you felt lonely, but then when you expanded when you started asking these questions, and then everyone was like, oh, dude, you're one in a million. Like you're one of a million, and not one in a million. It's all about perspective. And I think that's something you got to recognize is there's tons of other kids
like you, and and that's kind of what social media does well. I think sometimes is it helps you connect with other people like you.
Yeah, I just went to a conference with like probably 800 other young entrepreneurs up in New York. It was so cool.
Yeah, like so you're never going to be alone. You're not going to be the only guy getting sued. You're not going to be the only guy making $1 million. And I think that's both great for competitive attitude, and it's also great for not feeling alone. And I think that's something that you're going to have to, or you're going to really start to realize, start to recognize. Before I get to my next question, I wanted to ask you your biggest failure that you've had thus far during these 4 years as in where you're at in your position right now.
You really sit there and look at someone making a claim against you, saying that you did something wrong, that you worked your butt off to make happen. They threaten you. It's kind of akin to in high school, middle school, high school, I was bullied. Middle school mostly, not high school. Middle school, I was isolated, no friends, nobody was talking to me. It's the same thing with higher stakes. That wasn't a failure per se. That's just something that happened. My failures, however, have been along the lines of not being intentional about what comes next. I've never had a budget. I've always told people that it's good to have a budget, but I hadn't had a budget for my business, personal, nothing. And as I said, yeah, my overdraft fee statement was laughable last year, with hundreds of thousands of dollars rolling through a bank account and getting $35 fees on a weekly basis. It's kind of crazy, right? And then having something hit where a client does not want to continue working with you, and that $800 or $1,000 is going to make you go bankrupt. Just that small change, even though the cash flow is in the mid five figures, $800 puts you in depression. I mean, it's like it's something that when you build something from the ground up, and this is not like tangible failures. When someone looks from the outside in and says, "That's not a failure. That's just a road bump," and yeah, but it's a big road bump. It's like a wall. I call it a failure, and to the extent that I failed to prepare for it. I didn't know what I was doing, and that's fine. Now I do, but things like that happen all the time. I haven't had a loss of a business. I expect that sometime in my life, based on statistics, I might end up back at ground zero. But as of right now, I started this with $300, and we're doing pretty well now. There's been a lot of struggle along the way. No hard failures, but a lot of very close calls.
Mm-hmm. That's
all the time.
Yeah.
In the past weeks. I mean, it's something that right now I'm overcorrecting for. I'm trying to get everything in place to make sure that things like this don't happen. Trying to put client surveys in to make sure clients tell us how they feel about projects and don't wait a year. There's a lot of learning.
A lot of learning. Opportunities for learning and opportunities for growth can be seized throughout a day, throughout a week, and people don't really necessarily realize all these opportunities where you're like, wow, I failed here. I recognize this now, and now I have the opportunity to move forward in a more productive manner. And one of the ways we love to connect with our marketing interns is by asking our guests these questions of failure and then seeing how they've grown from it. And one of our now favorite questions is, what is in your back pocket? And we like to frame this question during those times of failure, during those times of stress, when you are being sued and you've never been in that situation before. What are the qualities that you hold closest to you? And that's what's in your back pocket. So I'd like to ask you, what's in your back pocket?
My parents. I went for years without telling them anything about what was happening in my business. And I almost just couldn't take it. I could not take it anymore. I got this demand letter in the mail, and this is all the same thing that's going on. It's not like we have 99% of our clients are very happy. I don't want to make it sound like anything other than I don't want to make it sound like anything other than that is the case. But I got this letter in the mail, and I drove to my dad's office and said, I don't know what to do. if I had tried to keep that in, that would not have been a pretty outcome. So I talked to my parents, and they're there for me.
Yeah, support systems. I mean, that's been incredible for us.
Psychiatrist, weekly basis, psychiatrist. I do meditation twice daily for 20 minutes, transcendental meditation. And I'm still figuring out how I manage things like this. There's words. Where are the words? I guess I'll grab them in my next 4 years of literature. It's a very rough takeoff, but once you hit 30,000 feet, allegedly, it's nice.
That's fair. What I really appreciate, though, what you just said, was that you gave credit to your parents, because that's something that went through my mind, was like, man, this kid is taking credit for all this stuff, and yeah, he's had this great success, but like, where's that tweet about his parents? Or like, I know you said like you love your mom and all that stuff.
There's a tweet about it, and that was when my mom. I sent that tweet. I love my mom out, and she has no idea I sent it. I assume she'll probably come across this, because I'll make sure this gets seen. I want my mommy to be proud of me. But she told me the other day that people always tell her, "Oh, he must have been such an easy kid to raise," and her answer is like, "Not even close." I was like a nightmare, but I sent that tweet after my mom asked if I could get dinner with her, and I couldn't because I had to finish a proposal. And she understood. And that's the coolest thing in the world.
Mm-hmm. It's awesome. When you're able to show your parents and give back to them, I mean, there's nothing really much more gratifying than that. We haven't had that opportunity yet, but we continue to reiterate how thankful we are to have them in our lives, to allow us to, they encourage us, they support us, not only just our parents, but our friends and our network. And it sounds like you have just that, being 19 years old, and the position that you're in, a support system goes a long way. And it's great to have two people for sure in your corner at all times, went through something similar, being entrepreneurs as themselves. So very cool.
Yeah, I've got a cool family.
That's awesome.
They're loud, very Jewish, but cool nevertheless.
So this is a seamless transition to what we would consider our game alert. So we play.
I had no idea there's going to be a game.
So this one is called the Backpocket coaching session. So we're going to be your coaches here in this case.
Because you've given us plenty of advice, so it's our turn to maybe return the honors.
Yeah.
Maybe your advice will be good compared to mine.
Okay, that's fair. We can always take some tips from you. That's why we have you on the podcast to begin with. We're always
No, I would not assign any value to my tips. I would imagine yours are going to be far more wise than mine.
Well, we're tapping into one industry that you already have. Declan, lead us in.
Yep. So Twitter, we're going to start there. Being live coaches and then helping you out with your tweets. We specialize in that. We're podcasters. We love tweets. You understand?
We're going to try this apart.
All right. So I'm going to start with this tweet. You tweeted this out maybe a week ago. It says, "Let's get some non-dairy food up in first for once. LOL at American Air on behalf of those with lactose intolerance." So I want to walk you through something real quick. Calling out airlines, usually not a good idea. However, there are people out there that are going to fight for you. So I like that. Non-dairy products in first class. So at least, that's a nice brag on your end, going with saying.
You're going to tear these apart. Oh my goodness. How is this a game?
So what I liked about it is you're supporting the lactose intolerance fellows out here. Me, for example, I'm very struggling with the milk and any cream sort, like cream cheese and butter. So thank you for being a voice to the people that need it. And also, airlines do need to be called out because they've received some pretty heavy trendingness when you do call them out. So you can boost your followership.
Yeah, it does boost your it's not SEO, but your relevance on Twitter when you get involved with that.
Maybe that's what I was doing.
Yeah, there it is. The truth comes up. My next one would be I think I saw you tweeted something about politics. This is a strict
this is a strict rule on our podcast. Is we have things that are banned, and one of them is politics. We just don't get into it. We don't know enough about it. Even when you your tweet was like completely unintentional, like it wasn't even bad, no negativity at all.
Oh,
and
I got so much. I got so much, like, what's it called on that? So much flack.
Well, we do know, and we do preach this message: controversy is the air we breathe. So when you do tweet political statements or underlying political messages, you just know that it's going to happen. Flack will be received, and you just have to be ready and willing to take it.
That's fair.
And everything, not just in politics, but you're in the limelight as a CEO. We are in the limelight as a CEO, and we share those like moments where it's like, whoa, I didn't realize you could actually receive flack for something like that. I thought I was just
honestly, I didn't think anybody cared, to be quite honest.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I was not looking for that to happen.
Mm-hmm. What you'll find is people care too much on Twitter.
Yeah. No, someone was like unfollowing, and then like 8 other people were like, "Don't tweet about politics, don't tweet." And then like there were like 15 people that were just like, "No, you got this." And I was like, "Yeah, I know that crowd. That crowd's fun." I just didn't like the color of the sticker I was tweeting about. I wrote a tweet about a sticker, like a bumper sticker I didn't like, and I didn't like the color of it.
See, things can be taken out of context. But one thing that you need to do and keep in context is your pin tweets.
Good point, Andrew. I got this. Okay, so your pin tweet. So you talk about when you're 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, what will 19-year-old Brennen do? I think you're missing a few milestones. First, your first kiss. Second one, when you learn to walk. That would be good perspective on like, wow, this kid walked at 2 months, like he was going to be a prodigy from the beginning.
Or while you're at it, you might as well put in when you learn to tie your shoes.
Yeah, tie your shoes.
I'm still working on that one.
Okay, and then like maybe what seed you would normally get picked in like a game of pickup basketball?
I would be on the bench at best.
Perfect. I would say just like mix in a couple of those within like the had his first 6-figure year, and then at like maybe 18 or 17 and a half, like first kiss, but
Twitter has a character limit.
Valid point.
So I don't know how you're going to fight with that, but I think I hit exactly 280 in that tweet.
Okay, how about this then? Have another pin tweet and then just have like 14 through 18 just list all the average milestones you had, such as learning to walk, tie your shoes, and then your first kiss, and then maybe who you took to prom. Those 4 things, just tweet those out and then pin it and see the difference.
See, all that stuff is like sad and depressing.
but it also makes you humble. It's your humility engine. We have things about like me. Brennen, I have the weirdest body ever, dude. Like I just have a weird body, and I tweeted that out the other day, and like I don't know if I feel better about it, but like I'm admitting it, I'm soaking it, I'm taking it as mine. Like if you didn't kiss a girl till 17, like that's great. We can all relate to that.
I haven't kissed a girl since 6th grade and don't intend to do it for a very long time.
I wish you best of luck with your first date tonight.
No, that is not a girl I'll be kissing. So
okay, right on. Again,
different target audience. Different. I do mention that. I'm surprised you didn't come across that.
Huh?
Yeah.
What side of the field it hits on? Very nice. Well, at least again, admitting to that is great. It's not you're not even admitting, but just being open about it.
Yeah. No. But the metaphor, the baseball metaphor, does not work for me because working out, not my thing. Okay. people say that that's got to be my average thing. People say that they get headaches working out, and honestly, I don't want to take the risk. So
okay, I stopped working out since I ended my football career. So now we share that together. We don't work out.
Yeah.
My metabolism's gonna go one day, and I'm just gonna be done.
I'm afraid of that as well.
Here's the thing you could do is just like always maintain your body. So like that's kind of where I'm not trying to like bench 1,000,000 pounds anymore, nor am I trying to squat. But you know what? I'll get in the weight room and push a couple weights around and see what happens. And I hope I can do that till I'm at least 50. So Maybe that's a milestone or a benchmark you set.
Yeah, my 92-year-old grandpa did a 5K in 48 minutes.
That's impressive.
Good for
I
him.
can do a 5K if I do it 1 mile a day for 3 days.
Okay. Sure.
So like he's work activity. Pitch that to someone else. Talking to the wrong audience.
Well, that was our game.
Well, actually, ending on a positive note, you had really good sleep tweets about sleep. I'm
Sleep
glad
is
you're already being
so
well
important. Oh my goodness, it's honestly, I realize 6 hours of sleep versus 8 hours of sleep. You're not pleasant to be around. You don't show compassion for people. You take everything really, really personally, and you can't function. You can't look at things clearly, and it makes you make decisions you wouldn't make otherwise. So yeah, absolutely. Consistent sleep schedule is one of the most important things you can put into your life. It's one of the most important things I try to maintain. I'm not that good at it. Last night I got 7 hours. But
That
I'm
would
not
be my
good.
average quality. If there's an average quality out there, that would be mine, is trying to hit hours and trying to wake up and go to bed at these certain specific times every day.
Yeah, what is the average? Like how long do you guys sleep every night?
Depends on the day. I try and get 7. We had if you're interested, we had a podcast guest by the name of Matt Berg, and he's a CEO of a sleep company, really focused on researching sleep, how it affects the body. We've actually kind of been heavily involved in that as a podcast. We had another person as well. But back to the point, it's learning about it and then trying to apply it to your life are 2 entirely different things. But if the main focus is discipline, because when it's time to go to bed, you got to like really man up and just say, all right, I'm going to bed, not reading a book or playing video games for another hour or scrolling through Twitter, whatever it is. You just got to stay disciplined, have that routine. And usually it takes care, your body will take care of you if you do that.
Yeah, like one less episode of Grey's Anatomy. Who's gonna get hurt? I mean,
that's when you don't watch it though.
Yeah, no, exactly. No. Like what are you gonna miss if you don't watch one? That was my thought process last night. So I didn't watch it, and then I decided to go out and see some people later. So I got 1 less hour of sleep, and now I regret it because I would be a lot more pleasant if I had that 1 extra hour. I promise.
Well, no worries. You crushed the game. When you were going into it versus now, how do you feel about the Backpocket game?
Oh God, the part where the thing about the flight, that just like hit my pain point right on the spot, because like that's something that definitely subconsciously I was trying to justify and prove myself, but I don't need to do that at all.
Well, actually, just tweet at us next time you want to get after these airlines, because Andrew and I will absolutely take that and take your burden on that.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I think it'll be just as effective as if I tweet the airline. I don't think either of you will do anything about it.
That's fair. Well, we're kind of concluding the main portion of our interview and transition to the back end. We finished with 2 final questions. The first question is asking you, do you have any questions for us?
What puts you in a position where you are so curious and so engaged and do so much for other people? It is incredible that you literally sit in that room talking to people about their stories and letting other people listen to their stories and kind of being the middleman and nobody asking you about your stories. How are you a person that's built for that? It amazes me. It's
we can both take this. You go first.
I'll start. And one thing that I think has really allowed me to be intellectually curious in this way is realizing that I don't have what it takes when I want to get where I want to get to. And the only way I feel like getting there is by building a network and by communicating with people that I would never have a chance to talk to. And that involves just being, as we've mentioned throughout this podcast, being humble enough to say, hey, I do not know what I want to do with my life. I do not know where I want to go. I don't know how to get there. I want to hear your story. I want to hear how you got to where you want to go, because maybe in that story, there are those golden nuggets where it's like, oh, wow, he did that really cool. I didn't know you could handle those situations in that way. And at the same time, we're able to communicate that to an audience. I'm not the only one taking that away. It's an audience full of people, whether how many people listen on a podcast, it doesn't matter. We are providing that message, and we are giving people an opportunity to obtain that message.
It's a awesome thing seeing someone and getting a message in my inbox asking someone to share stories with them. Kind of made my week, so I appreciate it.
Nice. And I would say, even from like my end, I have always just been very curious and always just wanting to learn more. And I've never felt that way more than when I do the podcast. And I think, like Andrew had mentioned, I'm in the same boat. Like I had I had a pretty sweet track as like, I want to be an engineer. I want to do this, I want to do that. But, deviating from that and having a podcast is like another parallel in your life is totally eye-opening. I love networking. I love learning from people. I love hearing their story, because knowing someone's story and talking with someone for an hour, the new generation has a short attention span. This is completely opposite of it, but you just gain so much more knowledge about that person when you know where they came from. And you can now understand the decisions, the things they say 100,000 times more than if you were to not do that. Or if you were to just scroll through Brennan's Twitter feed, you would find
not a recommended daytime activity.
I think that's one of the biggest problems right now in this world is like that short attention span literally puts you into these different like boxes of life, and like someone would just see you as just like a random 19-year-old kid who like likes to talk about his company and what he's doing. And
also, like, you had a tweet that you pinned at the top of your profile, and those are awesome accomplishments. Absolutely, people should see those from you. But then there's so much more that went into it. I mean, they don't realize all the struggles that you had. And hearing that from our point of view and asking those questions to provoke it, and allow you to feel comfortable enough to share how you grow through it is so cool. And how someone can just hear your story now on this podcast and be like, wow, he's 19 years old, and he was able to take on someone who was suing a company that he started when he was 14 or 15, whatever year it was early, and someone tried to come after your company in a way that was negative. And you're like, okay, I'm not the only person that has handled this type of situation. There are resources, there are people that have done this before. How can I grow? And someone now is able to hear that and grow as well. I mean, that's what's cool. So Brennen, thank you for being so honest and open with us throughout this podcast.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. I appreciate it, and there's nothing more I could enjoy doing this tonight. I mean, this has been wonderful. It's been a great way to tie up my day. So I really appreciate you asking me.
Absolutely. And our final question. What did you learn today from the time that you woke up to having this interview with us right now?
I actually learned something big today. I learned that I need to have something to look forward to cope with the now when it gets tough. Earlier today, I was sitting here, and I told you a little bit, I was feeling anxious. I was sitting here, I was about to get in my car and just drive for an hour and listen to a podcast. I love podcasts. And I didn't do it because I found a project that I got excited about because it's for my future. It's for the future of one of our clients that we just started with. And if they're happy, that means we have a great case study that can push the company forward. And I just started grinding on that. 4 hours later, I looked up and realized, oh, it's been 4 hours. What I take from that is if I can give myself something that is a motivator, something to look forward to, that's how I keep myself going. Because the now can get really, really disappointing, really, really difficult. And I think, I don't know if that's the same for everybody. Is that something that you experience?
Yes.
I would say so.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty. I mean, like, I think you can get so locked into your day-to-day process sometimes where it's just like, man, you need to take a step back and reflect on like what exactly you're doing, and even more so like why you're doing it. People always ask like, oh, what's your why? Or, the whole Simon Sinek, like the based on like, what is your why? And I think that's kind of what it goes back to is when you're in those ruts, you need to really ask yourself, what is your why? And that's what motivates you for the future, because you would have never gotten that opportunity if you weren't working within your why.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
that's a great thing that you learned.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope all our marketing interns learn something from you and this podcast in general. Thanks for coming on, Brennen. Absolutely phenomenal time.
Thank you for having me. I really hope to talk to you guys soon.
And that was our interview with Brennen Bliss. Thank you so much for coming on our show, taking time out of your day. We appreciate it.
We loved everything you had to say. We had to humble him a little bit with the game at the end there, with the tweets. Let's be honest, if someone were to go back and look at our tweets, what would they find?
We don't know, but it'd be just as dangerous, maybe even more.
Possibly, But again, it's all about the humility engine. You got to push on the humility on someone who's doing that well. And if Bren can be as humble as the most humble man in the world, Marlon's man or someone, I don't know who you want to talk about, but if he can leverage that, he's going to be a much better CEO, co-founder, or founder of his company and his passion.
Yeah, He had so many golden nuggets of just one thing that the humility aspect. What's in his back pocket? Humility. Who does he rely on? His family. There's just so many things that he talked about that was so cool. Brennen, you're the man. Thank you again. Let's transition to the back end.
Dude, for sure. We're here. We're now. Thank you for making it this far, marketing interns. It's not easy making it this far. It's been like an hour or so. You've taken a lot of time out of your day for us, and we appreciate that.
So the back end, sneaky secret, is on its way.
Sneaky. We're back, baby. So this segment started out as like an off-air conversation, and it's kind of funny because this could be a quote, is we're always on air. So there's really no other way to put it.
Yeah.
So here we are.
I love being on air.
Yeah, why not? You just carry your life as if you're always recording a podcast. I think that's good and bad, probably.
Yeah, there's some negatives to it, but I think more pros.
Anyways, we'll skip over that for now. Sneaky secrets. Challenge yourself just to see how you respond. I want to challenge our podcast. Put us in situations where we aren't comfortable and just see how we respond.
Mm-hmm.
I think we realized that the most from when we had to pull the podcast interview, last week, 2 weeks ago?
2 weeks.
2 weeks ago, yeah.
I think that was a perfect opportunity to see how we would respond. And we did exactly what we wanted to do after overcoming some adversity. We just said we cannot give into the situation. We need to move forward. We treated it as an opportunity to grow. So how else can we do that? Maybe do some more live shows, because that was one of the opportunities that I felt post live show. I was way better at articulating myself and more comfortable just in this setting. I felt like I was still talking to people while I'm in front of this mic.
Yeah, and there's so many other obstacles that come with a live show and so many other ways you can make it better. And I think even the setting that we were in at first was not even really like people showed up that just didn't care about us, What if we had a show where all eyes were on us,
Mm-hmm. They weren't there for free food, but they were there for the back pocket.
Yeah, and so that would be an interesting, just dynamic. And I'm trying to think of like different places that we could perform at or how you would leverage that. But either way, a lot of cool different challenges that come with just doing a live show in general.
Another thing that I think we could do to challenge ourselves would be to put up more content out. We already put some insane hours into this podcast, and people don't necessarily realize all the back end work that goes into it. And we probably talked about it enough where you guys realize that we do care about this so much that we want to make sure it's that quality where you guys deserve. And when you're going to put the time in, we should put the time in for you guys. One content idea I think one of our marketing interns just sent our way was a blog expansion. And this can be a way to traffic people to our website. Absolutely. So Gabe Fighton, thank you so much for challenging us.
Yeah, the guy wrote up a full proposal of what it would be, what the point of the blog would be, how it would be utilized, where we would put it out, how we would put it out, how you gauge all that. So like the idea of now not only recording 2 podcasts a week, but then blogging, and blogging sounds interesting, but just like writing in general.
Mm-hmm.
Like first of all, my first initial reaction to that was like, yes, let's do it. But then I was like, oh man, like I'm not that good at writing.
Hey, that's maybe your average quality.
Yeah.
Maybe below average.
Yeah. But there's just a lot of room for improvement.
Mm-hmm. A lot of room for improvement.
A lot of challenges that come with writing.
Absolutely. And I love putting ourselves on a higher standard, because sometimes we are complacent. We put out we do have the same format every week, and I feel like we've done that. But we're growing in different ways, but maybe challenge ourselves a step further. always push yourselves, and this is a way that I think could absolutely take us to another level.
For sure. This was one of my favorite Sneaky Secrets segments, dude. A lot of good stuff there. Hopefully all our marketing interns are like, all right, I got some ideas for how these guys can challenge themselves, and that they're going to send us some shit. So I'm excited. Let's get after this. All right, so what do we learn? Andrew, first off, dude, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. I've had a really good day, and I learned something that I feel like will be prevalent in every day going forward.
Okay, nice.
So
that's a good thing to learn.
Absolutely.
Whatever it is.
When you can learn something like that, you're like, damn, this is a good day.
This is not a bad day either.
Exactly. So what did I learn today? I learned that through what Beaver Fleming was talking about last week about mindset, I want to do a little more research on it. And what Beaver talked about was just how mindset can help you kickstart a movement. Well, there's two different type of mindsets that people have in this world. Literally, like factually, two different mindsets. There's a fixed mindset and a growth mindset. And to give you a little background, this is what I read. So a fixed mindset is thinking their ability and intelligence are fixed and that talent is biggest predictor of success. A growth mindset is when you believe you can improve any of your natural skills through dedication and hard work. Well, everyone probably believes they have a growth mindset because that seems a little more positive, right? Well, there are people that have that fixed mindset where it's like, I don't have those natural gifts. I can't do that, so I'm gonna move on to a different industry. Where a growth mindset will be like, well, if I'm not good enough right now, I don't mind being at the bottom because I feel like I can get to the top eventually if I continue to put through work, I continue to take opportunities, learn from my failures. So it's a two different street, but at the end of the day, it's reality. So which mindset are you gonna be?
Wow, that's sweet. So the fixed mindset, I'm trying to think of a situation where it'd be like, okay, I could see this person being a fixed mindset. Like,
well, okay, so to take it lightheartedly, put it into sports.
Okay.
So you're 15 years old and you're playing soccer and you're just not that good.
Yeah.
Okay. These guys were born with better skills. I don't
Time
feel
to
like
find a new sport.
Time to find a new sport. I'm not good enough. I'm going to move on. Versus being like, okay, I can't pass that well right now. I don't have good ball movement with my left foot. So I need to learn. I need to talk to someone. I need to take classes and I'll grow from it.
Yeah. It's kind of like the easy path, worthy path type mentality too, where it's like...
Or some people are picking stuff that they're good at and they're just going to be great at it. Versus they're not good at it and like, I want to be good at it. I want to maybe one day be great at it.
Yeah, that makes a lot more sense where it's just like you get into something and someone tells you like, oh, you're so good at this. And then you just, now you're locked in. Mm-hmm. Now you're locked into growing right there. And it's just kind of like a one-way road, tunnel vision type thing.
Yeah.
Okay, I like that. So
they're both positive.
Exactly. That's kind of the whole point I was trying to like articulate out loud. Mm-hmm. It was like, okay, how do I look at a fixed mindset positive? Anyways, that's phenomenal content. Love it. What I learned was consistency goes a long way, and people respect consistency as well as authenticity. So we were talking about this today, and what I was realizing was like you and me. What I was realizing is like, man, you really don't have to be someone else, even though they're like we follow all kinds of people on Instagram. And they are their own brand a lot of the times, but there's a lot of overlap between a lot of
crossovers.
A lot of crossover, and they get a lot of engagement. And so sometimes when you see that, you're like, man, I need to be more like them. But what I'm realizing is the people that reach out to us and the people that, talk about us or, are involved with the Backpocket are just so dedicated. Whereas I see all these other people, and it's like the interaction they're getting is not as authentic. So it's kind of like the garbage in, garbage out mentality. So if we put content in that's authentic and consistent, we're going to get a message back from our marketing interns that's consistent and it's authentic. And it's exactly who we are because of that authenticity. So I learned that. That was really cool. I also learned from you strong verbs, short sentences.
Malcolm Gladwell put some great intellectual curiosity into me. The podcast format is when you tend to overspeak. You're trying to get your thoughts out, and some people like to do it in a lengthy version. But there was a podcast by Malcolm Gladwell where one of these leading researchers in the United States got accused of some stuff, and she was strong enough to be using strong verbs, short sentences to get to her point, and her beliefs stood where they were and ended up being a positive way to go about it.
Yeah, go listen to it. It's what was the name of the episode?
Strong verbs, short sentences.
Okay,
I think it was episode 9 of season 3.
Yep. So just go check that out because it's phenomenal. I think we need to just like create a Google Doc and just type in every representation of strong verbs, short sentences.
I'm inspired.
Yeah, it'd be fun. It'd be super fun. Anyways, feel good story.
Absolutely. Positive note, we're positive guys, and we want to leave our marketing interns in an atmosphere where they're uplifted and ready to roar. What's the feel good story of the week, Deck?
Feel good story is kind of what I was talking about earlier. The people who are sending it in this world, ones that are just going head first, the ones that have just no fear, and that are these people that choose the worthy path. So these people are someone who I would actually compare them to like X Games action sports athletes. They're doing stuff that no one else does. They don't get a lot of publicity for it, is the reality, but they still do it because they're so passionate about it. Like if you could conquer those 3 things in whatever you want to do, you're set. And the feel good story are those people out there right now, and there's all kinds of them, and we talk to them every day, and they're great. And I just want to push that message out because I know those people that are this far into a podcast, or the marketing interns that are this far into the podcast, are those people.
Absolutely. They are taking risks, calculated risk. They're not risky business, but it's risk taking. And I believe that's the worthy path. Thank you, marketing interns. You've been so kind to us for enjoying podcast number 60. Pretty cool.
Podcast 60, what a milestone. Podcast 61 is going to just be that much better. Always improving between 1 and 2. Podcast 60 and 61. Of course, marketing interns, have a great week. Choose the worthy path. Take care.
Take care.